Have you ever felt like your team, everyone's really on their game, everyone's sharp, ideas are flowing, but you still get this nagging sense
Yeah.
that you're not quite hitting your full stride?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
there's another gear you just can't seem to engage
Right.
to really unlock those innovative breakthroughs?
Yeah.
Well, Phoenix Performance Partners, they just published this really thought-provoking article.
Okay.
It's called The Collaboration Blind Spot: Unlocking the Power of Inclusive Thinking.
I love that title.
And it really dives deep into this phenomena, this feeling that we're not quite reaching our full potential.
Yeah, and it's something that I see all the time with the teams that I work with.
Right. It's like we have the talent, we're putting in the effort, but something's still holding us back.
Exactly. And it's not a lack of talent or effort. You're absolutely right.
And so in this deep dive, we're going to unpack that. We're going to explore how our thinking, like those ingrained patterns,
Yeah.
the invisible ways our thinking operates,
Yeah.
can actually prevent us from seeing those valuable perspectives
Yes.
that are all around us and ultimately limit what we can achieve together.
It's like unlocking this untapped potential that's been there the whole time.
Right. And the exciting thing is, Phoenix Performance Partners, they don't just identify the problem, they actually give us some really tangible strategies
Oh, that's great.
that we can use to cultivate a more inclusive way of thinking,
Okay.
both within our teams and across our organizations as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Their article is really comprehensive.
Yeah.
It covers everything from identifying those ingrained blind spots
Okay.
to actually implementing real-world solutions.
I like it.
So let's dive right in.
Yeah, let's get to the heart of it.
Let's talk about this collaboration blind spot.
What are we really talking about here?
Well, the article, it kind of paints this really vivid picture of these blind spots as these areas
Okay.
where critical insights, different ways of seeing things, they're just not being acknowledged or given the weight they deserve.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, right?
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
whose ideas are consistently gaining traction?
Mm-hmm.
Whose concerns are truly being addressed?
Right.
Whose input is actually shaping the direction you're heading?
Yeah. Yeah.
These blind spots, they're silently influencing all of that.
And they're so sneaky because we don't even realize they're there most of the time.
Exactly. And, there's that famous quote by Anais Nin.
Oh, yeah.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
So true.
And I think that really gets at the heart of it, right?
It does.
Our individual perspectives,
Uh-huh.
they can shape their entire reality,
They really can.
sometimes to the detriment of everyone, collectively.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting about the article is that they emphasize
Yeah.
that these blind spots, they don't just disadvantage the people who might feel excluded.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
It is.
It fundamentally restricts the potential of the entire organization.
The whole organization. Wow.
Yeah, if you're not tapping into all those viewpoints, all those different ways of seeing things,
You're missing out.
you're missing out big time. You're limiting your options, your ability to see challenges and opportunities from all angles.
Yeah, and it's that crucial difference, isn't it, between just having a diverse group of people in the room
Yeah.
and truly fostering an environment where diverse thinking is valued
That's the key.
and integrated. It's not just about ticking boxes on a diversity report.
Right. It's about going deeper.
It's about how ideas are actually generated,
Yes,
evaluated, and acted upon.
absolutely.
Phoenix Performance Partners makes this really important distinction
Okay.
between formal inclusion
Uh-huh.
and what they call true inclusive thinking.
Interesting. So what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, according to the article, inclusive thinking,
Yeah.
it has several really distinctive characteristics.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, it starts with this very deliberate act of conscious listening,
Okay.
especially during moments of disagreement,
Uh-huh.
or when perspectives diverge.
That's when it's hardest.
Right. It's easy to listen when you agree with someone, but when you disagree,
It takes effort.
that's when it really matters.
Totally.
And it means ensuring that every voice has a genuine pathway to influence the final outcome.
Okay.
It's not just about having people there to make it look diverse.
Right. It's about making sure everyone feels heard and that their contributions matter.
Exactly. And it's about deeply valuing different cognitive styles.
Yeah.
Recognizing that people approach problems, they analyze information, they generate ideas in different ways,
Absolutely, and that's a good thing.
and not just tolerating those differences, but actually seeing them as strength.
That's the key.
And it involves actively seeking out dissenting viewpoints,
Okay.
alternative perspective,
Even if it's uncomfortable,
even if it makes us a little bit uncomfortable,
which it often does.
because it challenges our assumptions.
It does.
And ultimately, it's about this collaborative process where teams build upon each other's ideas.
I,
It's not about having your individual idea win.
right. It's about coming together.
It's about collectively arriving at the best possible solution.
It's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. And I think that's really powerful.
It is.
And, this connects with a really interesting concept they explore in their book, The Great Engagement.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's about default success strategies.
What are those?
Basically, they're those ingrained behavioral patterns
Okay.
that have served us well in our careers.
Uh-huh.
The familiar go-to ways we operate and make decisions.
Makes sense.
But here's the catch.
Oh, there's always a catch.
The article points out that these strategies, these very strategies that have helped us succeed individually,
Yeah.
if we don't examine them,
Okay.
they can unintentionally create these invisible barriers that actually hinder inclusive thinking.
So the things that have gotten us to where we are
Could be holding us back
could be holding us back now.
as a team. So how does this actually manifest in the real world?
Yeah, give me some examples.
Like, how do these strategies create those blind spots?
Yeah, what does it look like in practice?
The article gives some really relatable examples.
Okay, good.
One common pattern is that we tend to, it's natural. We gravitate towards
Right.
and surround ourselves with
Yes.
people who share similar perspectives.
Makes us feel comfortable.
It feels good, right?
It does. It feels safe.
And it can create a sense of efficiency, like things move smoothly.
Uh-huh.
But the downside is
What's the downside?
you're limiting your exposure to different viewpoints.
Right.
That could spark innovation or highlight potential pitfalls.
Yeah, you're missing those crucial alternative perspectives.
Exactly. And another pattern is that we might unconsciously give more weight to ideas
Okay.
that are presented in ways that feel familiar to us
Ah,
or that resonate with our own style of communication.
interesting.
So something novel or presented differently might be subconsciously undervalued.
Just because it doesn't fit our existing framework.
Exactly, just because it doesn't fit how we're used to seeing things.
And that's a real shame because sometimes those out-of-the-box ideas,
They're the game changers.
they're the ones that lead to real breakthroughs.
And we also have this tendency to downplay perspectives that challenge our deeply held beliefs
Oh, that's a tough one.
or our established ways of working.
Yeah, we can be pretty resistant to change.
We can, and it's understandable, right?
It is. It's human nature.
We like to feel like we're right,
We like to feel like we know what we're doing
but it can blind us.
to new possibilities.
And finally, we might inadvertently place more trust in the voices we perceive as credible.
Okay.
And often those are individuals whose thinking already aligns with our own.
So we're back in that echo chamber again.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. It's like we're constantly reinforcing our own biases without even realizing it.
And, even as I'm saying this, I'm reflecting on my own experiences.
Me too.
And I can definitely recognize some of these patterns.
Yeah, we all do it.
And the thing is, there's no conscious intent to exclude anyone.
It's not malicious.
It's just these ingrained habits.
These unconscious patterns that we've developed over time.
Exactly. And this leads perfectly into what Phoenix Performance Partners calls the 4 patterns of exclusion.
Okay, I'm ready to hear about these patterns.
So let's walk through them one by one to really understand how these blind spots take shape.
Let's do it.
The first pattern is what they call the echo chamber.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
This is where a leader, or really any member of a team,
Uh-huh.
becomes surrounded by individuals who largely mirror their own viewpoints.
Right, like we were just talking about.
It creates this comfortable feeling of agreement,
Yeah, everyone's nodding along.
and it can even give the illusion of high productivity.
Because there's no friction.
No debate, no pushback.
Just smooth sailing.
But the problem is
Oh, here it is.
that crucial ingredient of diverse thinking, which is so vital for genuine innovation and robust problem solving,
It's missing.
it's missing. You're essentially just hearing your own thoughts reflected back to you.
So you're not really growing or expanding your perspective.
Exactly. And this comfortable agreement, it can actually blind you to important things,
Like what?
like market shifts
Oh.
or disruptive threats
Okay.
that someone with a different background might immediately recognize.
You're so focused on what you know.
That you miss what you don't know.
And that can be dangerous in today's rapidly changing world.
It can. And so this echo chamber, it's like a deceptively comfortable trap.
Yeah, it feels good in the moment, but it's ultimately limiting.
It's the illusion of progress.
Right. You think you're moving forward, but you're actually just running in place.
So what's the second pattern that creates these blind spots?
Let's hear it.
The second one is called the selective listener.
Okay, tell me more.
In this pattern, ideas are evaluated not so much on their inherent merit,
Interesting.
but rather based on who's presenting them.
Oh, I see. So it's like who, you know.
It's like if an idea originates from someone you trust, someone you respect,
Someone you consider a credible source.
right, and often that means someone whose thinking already aligns with your own,
Right.
that idea tends to receive more immediate attention and validation,
Whereas an idea from someone less established,
or with a different communication style,
or someone who's challenged the status quo in the past,
might be overlooked or dismissed,
even if it's a brilliant idea.
even if it's a game changer.
That's a really subtle but powerful form of bias.
It is, and we all have our biases,
We do, even if we try to be aware of them.
even if we actively try to counteract them.
It's human nature.
And so it's really important to consciously focus on the substance of the idea itself.
The idea itself, not the person presenting it.
Exactly, irrespective of its source or the presenter's perceived status.
Okay, what's the third pattern?
The third pattern is the efficiency trap.
Efficiency. That sounds good.
It sounds good in theory.
What's the trap?
The trap is that when there's this overwhelming emphasis on speed,
All right.
on making decisions quickly,
Uh-huh.
the time and space needed for thorough exploration of different options
And considering diverse viewpoints
gets squeezed out.
in the name of efficiency.
Exactly. And so teams might settle for the first seemingly viable solution
The first thing that seems good enough.
rather than investing the time to uncover potentially more innovative or impactful solutions.
That might require more thought and broader input.
Right. And I think we've all felt that pressure to deliver quickly.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
It's the reality in many organizations,
Especially now, everything's moving so fast
but it can stifle deeper thinking.
and prevent us from exploring all the possibilities.
So the irony is
Here's the irony.
that in our pursuit of efficiency,
Uh-huh.
we might actually be sacrificing effectiveness.
In the long run, yeah.
So what's the fourth and final pattern of exclusion?
I'm ready for the last one.
It's called the familiarity bias.
Okay, familiarity. What about it?
This is our inherent human tendency
Oh, here we...
to favor solutions, approaches, ideas
Okay,
that feel familiar and comfortable
makes sense.
over those that are novel
New and different.
or represent a significant departure from the status quo,
Even if the new approach is better,
even if it has the potential for a much greater impact,
we stick with what we know.
because it feels less risky,
Less scary.
less cognitively demanding.
It's easier on the brain.
And so we stick with what's worked in the past,
Even if the context has changed.
even if the current situation demands a different approach,
So we're basically clinging to the past
to some extent, yeah,
and missing out on the opportunities of the present.
and the future.
So to recap, we've got the echo chamber,
Uh-huh,
the selective listener,
right.
the efficiency trap,
And the familiarity bias
4 patterns of exclusion that, according to Phoenix Performance Partners,
can really hinder an organization's ability to tap into its collective intelligence.
by creating these collaboration blind spots.
And it's important to note
That's important.
that they're not presented as malicious behaviors.
No one's intentionally trying to be exclusive.
It's really about recognizing these natural human tendencies
That we all fall prey to.
that we can all fall prey to.
And that can have a real impact on our effectiveness as teams and organizations.
Exactly. So recognizing these patterns
Yes.
within your own
Just
team,
for an organization.
it's the critical first step.
Toward fostering more inclusive thinking.
But the article doesn't just stop at identifying the problem.
Thank goodness.
It gives us 5 practical
actionable
strategies for transformation.
Okay, I'm ready.
So let's delve into these strategies.
Let's do it.
The first one is to map your influence circle.
Map my influence circle.
Okay.
What does that involve?
Tell me about it. It's a really tangible and insightful exercise.
Okay.
You basically draw a circle and you put yourself at the center.
Got it. Me in the middle.
And then the next concentric ring.
Another ring around me.
You list the individuals whose opinions and perspectives you regularly seek out.
The people I go to for advice and input.
The people who significantly influence your thinking.
Okay.
And then in the outer ring,
One more ring.
you list people who bring different viewpoints,
Okay.
but whom you might consult less frequently.
The people I don't talk to as often.
And the key insight here is to look at this map
Really examine it.
and ask yourself, are you primarily engaging with and being influenced by
Mm-hmm.
individuals in that inner circle
My inner circle.
who tend to think very much like you.
Oh, I see. The echo chamber.
Exactly.
So the goal is to expand that inner circle.
To intentionally include more of those outer ring voices
The people who challenge my assumptions
who offer genuinely diverse perspective.
and push me out of my comfort zone.
And this visual exercise,
Yeah,
it can be really powerful
I can see that.
in terms of identifying those potential blind spots
In who I'm listening to.
and whose opinions you're prioritizing.
Whose voices are shaping my thinking.
The second strategy is to practice perspective taking.
Perspective taking.
How can we cultivate this skill?
Yeah, how do we get better at it?
It's about consciously and deliberately trying to see a situation or a challenge
Mm-hmm.
from someone else's point of view.
Before I jump to conclusions.
Before you make decisions or form conclusions.
Okay.
And the article suggests asking yourself some specific questions.
Like what?
Who might see this situation differently, and what are their reasons?
That's a good one.
Or what crucial insights might we be overlooking? Because the voices of certain stakeholders or groups are not adequately represented in this discussion.
So it's about actively considering those different viewpoints.
Yes, and it encourages us to think about the perspectives of a wide range of individuals.
Like who?
Maybe the newest member of the team,
Who brings a fresh outlook?
or the most seasoned employee who has all that historical context, or
Wow.
even your frontline staff,
The people on the ground.
who have that direct interaction with customers or with your core processes.
Yeah, they have valuable insights.
And this isn't just about being nice.
No,
It's about identifying potential flaws
before they become big problems.
before they become costly mistakes.
Ah, that's smart.
It's like proactively stress testing your decisions
Okay.
against viewpoints that are least represented in your usual discussions.
I like that analogy.
And so by actively seeking out those alternative viewpoints,
Uh-huh.
you can really surface potential pitfalls
And avoid making bad decisions
or uncover innovative solutions.
that might have otherwise remained hidden.
And that's a win-win.
It is. It's about making better decisions and being more innovative.
So what's the third strategy for fostering inclusive thinking?
I'm ready for number 3.
It's to create multiple channels for input.
Multiple channels. Okay.
The idea here is that individuals, we all think and communicate in different ways.
We do. We have different styles.
And so to ensure that everyone has a genuine opportunity to contribute, it's essential to offer a variety of formats for input.
I like that. Different options.
So for example, you could proactively send out thought-provoking questions before meetings
Okay.
to give people time to process.
Especially those who need a little more time to think things through.
Exactly. The people who might not be as comfortable thinking on their feet.
Right. And that way they can come to the meeting prepared.
And you could break into smaller group discussions
Okay.
where individuals who might be hesitant to speak up in a larger setting,
They feel safer in a smaller group.
they feel more comfortable
Yeah.
sharing their thoughts.
And you can get more diverse perspectives that way.
Absolutely. And providing anonymous input channels
Anonymous. Interesting.
can be really valuable for those who might be concerned about potential repercussions
For speaking up.
for expressing dissenting opinions.
Or challenging the status quo.
Sometimes people are afraid to speak their minds.
They are. They're worried about the consequences.
And so an anonymous channel,
Gives them a voice.
it gives them a safe space to share their thoughts.
Without fear of retribution.
And you can also incorporate visual mapping exercise
Visual mapping.
or brainstorming tools.
To cater to different learning styles.
Exactly, to capture the ideas of those who think more visually or spatially.
I like that. A multi-pronged approach.
So the point is,
What's the point?
not everyone thrives in the dynamic of a large live meeting.
That's true. Some people get lost in the crowd.
And so providing these diverse avenues for contribution,
Is crucial.
for capturing a broader spectrum of ideas and insights.
Okay, what's the fourth strategy?
The fourth one is to break the pattern of predictable participation.
Predictable participation. What does that mean?
This addresses the tendency for the same individuals to dominate discussions.
The people who always speak up.
The people who always have the loudest voices.
Yeah, we all know those people.
And if you can easily predict
Okay.
who will be the first to speak,
Uh,
who will speak most frequently,
and whose opinions will carry the most weight.
that's a red flag.
A sign of a collaboration blind spot.
Exactly. So the article suggests some techniques to disrupt those ingrained patterns.
Okay, I'm listening.
One is to implement a round-robin approach
Round robin, I like that.
to gathering initial input.
So everyone gets a chance to speak.
Everyone has a designated opportunity to share their thoughts.
Before the discussion takes off.
Before it gets hijacked by the usual suspects,
Right.
you could also institute a last to speak rule
Last to speak. Interesting.
for individuals with higher status
The bosses.
or more dominant personality
The loud one.
to encourage others to voice their perspectives first.
Give the quieter voices a chance to be heard.
Exactly. And rotating the role of meeting facilitator
That's a good idea.
can also shift group dynamics
Mix things up.
and empower different individuals to shape the conversation.
Yeah, prevent it from getting stuck in a rut.
And actively practicing, yes. And building.
Yes, and I love this.
Building on each other's ideas
Instead of shooting them down,
rather than immediately jumping to critique or dismissal
create a more collaborative atmosphere.
can foster a more inclusive and collaborative environment.
So everyone feels valued and respected.
So these are all really tangible techniques
Yeah, practical things you can implement right away.
that teams can implement immediately
And make sure everyone's voice is heard,
to ensure that all voices are not only present
but actively heard.
and that discussions aren't just inadvertently steered by a few dominant individuals.
Okay, what's the fifth and final strategy?
The fifth strategy is to institute regular learning reviews.
Learning reviews. Okay.
After significant decisions have been made or projects have concluded,
Okay.
take some dedicated time for reflection
A postmortem.
and ask some critical questions.
Like what?
Whose perspectives truly shaped the final outcome?
Interesting.
Are there any insights that might have been missed along the way?
Good question.
And what patterns of inclusion or exclusion were evident throughout the process?
So it's about analyzing how the decision was made
Not just the decision itself.
and identifying any blind spots.
And this type of post-mortem analysis
Yeah.
can help teams identify recurring blind spots
In their collaboration processes.
and learn how to cultivate more inclusive thinking habits in the future.
So it's about continuous improvement
It's about making it an ongoing cycle of learning.
rather than just a one-off initiative.
Exactly. And, the article also touches on this really compelling aspect.
Okay, what's that?
It's what they call the element of courage.
Courage. That's interesting.
Why is courage so important?
Yeah, why do they emphasize that?
Well, they point out that our brains,
Our brains, okay.
they're actually wired with a degree of inherent resistance to novelty and the unfamiliar.
We don't like things that are new and different.
We're naturally drawn to what we know.
The familiar, the safe.
And they talk about the amygdala,
The amygdala, okay.
which is often referred to as the brain's fear center.
The fear center, wow.
And the amygdala can be activated by anything that feels new, different, or unexpected.
So our brains are basically programmed to be afraid of the unknown.
To a certain extent, yeah.
That's fascinating.
And so when we talk about challenging our own deeply held assumptions, genuinely listening to perspectives that contradict our own viewpoints,
Okay.
and sharing decision-making power,
Giving up control.
we're essentially asking our brains to step outside of their comfort zones.
That's a big ask.
It requires a certain level of courage to consciously override this natural tendency,
To choose the unfamiliar over the familiar.
to actively choose conscious inclusion over the ease of unconscious exclusion.
That's powerful.
And it represents a shift
A shift from what to what?
from the perceived safety of the familiar
Okay.
to embracing the potential for real growth and innovation.
That comes from engaging with diverse perspectives
It's about stepping outside our comfort zones,
and embracing the unknown.
and that takes courage.
It does. It's not easy.
But the rewards can be huge.
huge. Okay, I'm sold.
And ultimately, as Phoenix Performance Partners so powerfully emphasizes, this isn't just about being fair or equitable.
Although those are important.
It's fundamentally about effectiveness.
Effectiveness, how so?
Organizations and teams that can harness the full spectrum of human potential
Okay.
with all its diverse thinking styles and experiences.
Yeah, tapping into that collective intelligence.
They're the ones that are going to be the most resilient, the most innovative, and ultimately the most successful.
It makes sense. The more perspectives you have
The better equipped you are to face challenges.
and to come up with creative solutions.
Exactly. So the key question that Phoenix Performance Partners poses to you, the listener, is this.
Okay, I'm listening.
What concrete action will you take to expand your own field of vision?
That's a good question for everyone to ask themselves.
And they leave us with this really thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay, hit me with it.
What valuable perspective might you be missing today?
Wow, that's really powerful.
It's a call to action.
It's a reminder to be more aware,
To not just passively understand these concepts,
but to actively do something about it.
to actively engage in the process of identifying and dismantling these hidden barriers.
And that's the key, taking action.
So, to summarize what we've explored today
Yeah, let's bring it all together.
in this deep dive into Phoenix Performance Partners' insightful article,
The collaboration blind spot.
it really underscores the critical importance of recognizing and addressing those often unconscious thinking patterns
That can limit our potential.
that can significantly limit the innovative capacity and overall potential of our teams and organizations.
And they give us the tools to do something about it.
Exactly, by becoming more aware of those 4 common patterns of exclusion.
The echo chamber, the selective listener, the efficiency trap, and the familiarity bias.
And by actively implementing those 5 practical strategies,
Map your influence circle. Practice perspective taking. Create multiple channels for input. Break the pattern of predictable participation. And institute regular learning reviews.
we can make a real shift
From unconscious exclusion to conscious inclusion.
from limitation to possibility.
From comfort to growth.
And I think that's a really powerful message.
It is. It's a message of hope and empowerment.
And so, as a takeaway for our listeners,
Okay, what should they do?
I would encourage you to take some time this week
Just a little bit of time.
to reflect on those 4 patterns of exclusion
Okay.
within the context of your own work environment and your own teams,
Think about where you might be seeing these patterns play out.
even subtly, because sometimes they're really subtle.
They are. They can be hard to spot.
And then consider selecting just one of those 5 practical strategies
Just one to start with.
that resonated with you,
The one that felt most relevant.
and consciously make an effort to implement it in the coming week.
Take a small step.
Because even that small
You
step
can make a big difference.
can be surprisingly impactful in starting to shift those.